Hey, hey. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is Wednesday, May 31st, last day of the month. So, good morning to everyone here in the States. Good afternoon to everyone over on the other side of the pond. Good evening. So good to be back here, sitting in front of the charts, man. There's just really nothing as good as sitting here at the charts and watching all of these candles print. And man, just there's really not a better life, man. This is what it's all about. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Beeswax. Good morning, Michael. Welcome in. Hope you guys are having a good day wherever you're at. We're on day number 3 of our 10K funded account. Taking 10K all the way to 2 million. We haven't taken a trade yet in 3 days. And that is not a bad thing. If you've been here watching for the last 3 days and you are wondering when we're going to take a trade, or you're on an account and you're thinking, man, I'm going to trade with this guy, I'm going to see what he's doing, and you're feeling the itch right now of, I got to take a trade. This week. If we don't take a trade this week, it would be the best thing that you could do for your trading career, is take an entire week and not enter the market and just watch and learn. Watch how the market moves and wait and wait and wait. Patience and boredom, man. I was just tweeting a minute ago on Trader Mike, his feed, just saying it's boredom and impatience are two of the greatest killers that take down traders. Those two things, boredom and impatience. And this is what no one will sit here and do with you in any other community. No one's going to sit here and talk you through the entire week and talk you through the emotions that you're feeling while you're sitting in front of the charts watching all this happen and tell you, it's okay. It's okay. Don't push the button. It's okay. Don't go in yet. It's okay. Just wait. Because it is okay. And man, I used to struggle with the boredom and impatience thing so much. And then I just got to a point where I was so tired of failing, and I knew what I needed to do. And it wasn't until I just started doing it that you saw the results. So results will come. Results will come. I promise you, if you will wait and take fewer trades, you are going to see a great turnaround in what you're doing. So welcome in, guys. Good morning to the guys that are coming into the stream just now. Interesting day yesterday. I told you I didn't really have a strong bias. I was more bullish on foreigns than I was bearish, as both euro dollar, pound dollar, dollar, gold, they had all met their draws on liquidity. And so once price moves, and it took a couple weeks for that to happen, but once price reaches the draws on liquidity, I don't have a strong bias. And so when that happens, you come into this neutral position and you want to see more clues from the market to determine where the market's next draw on liquidity is going to be. Is it going to be internally on retracements from recent moves, or is it continue to be external liquidity reaching for old highs and lows? And so currently right now on the dollar, yesterday I had said that I was anticipating these relative equal lows and sell side liquidity to get run before we saw any move higher. We came down close to it, but they left it in place, and now they've taken out and made a new monthly high, which yesterday on the stream I had said, I don't think we're going to make a new high today. Yeah, it was today. And that's why I told you I was very likely not going to take a trade, because my bias was not I did not have this firm set, strong bias one way or the other. And when you don't have that, there is absolutely no reason to go into the market looking for a move in one direction or the other. And when you don't know and you don't have a good, clear understanding of that in your own heart and mind, just watch. Just watch. We had marked out some levels here on euro dollar yesterday. I'm going to jump down here. And we had seen price reach into the last little bit of this volume imbalance and have a massive displacement back up. And so this is one reason why we were slightly more bullish on euro dollar. And we had identified our breaker blocks here and here. We had identified the OTE level of this run up. And we had said if price could get back down into it in this New York session, then we would look for an opportunity. And if you'll remember, I said I would not just enter. I would not just place in a buy trade right here if price came back down here. I'd wait and get down on a lower time frame and look and see if there was a reason for me to want to do that. And over the course of the afternoon, by 1, 2 o'clock, it did end up getting back down close, but I'm not going to take a trade in the market after lunch New York time. And that's really getting late. It's usually more like around 11 a.m. Eastern. I'll stop looking. And the market typically just slows down and doesn't give you many opportunities in Forex pairs in the late afternoons. And so it just didn't give us an opportunity yesterday. Then overnight in Asia, it just collapsed. It ran right through this entire area and ended up, it did pause down here at the OTE level that we had identified. But it just disrespected every up close candle right here. Every fair value gap just got completely tanked. And now we've made a new low on the euro for the month and completely closed in that weekly fair value gap. And now we're just waiting. We have some red folder news at 10 a.m. New York time. I likely will not be streaming until then. That's 3 hours. But knowing that red folder news is coming at 10, I don't have a strong feeling that there's going to be a great opportunity today. But I'm going to stream for a couple hours and we're going to watch these candles print and we're going to talk it through and show you what trading looks like and what sitting here waiting and identifying exactly what you're trying to see and find looks like. So because we've had this big move down and, you know, the dollar has been bullish still. It's left behind a little volume imbalance down here on the 1 hour time frame right there. You've got this order block right here. And, you know, this technically could be considered an hourly breaker because this is the last up close candle. I typically like to use the body of the last up close, the highest body or lowest body of the last, in this case, up close candle as the breaker, because this is your move up to come down, grab liquidity, take out old lows, and then it displaces back above it, leaving a fair value gap. So this could be an hourly breaker. It'll be interesting to see on as this plays out today, how price reacts inside this body of a candle. You do have some fair value gaps inside of here. You've got an order block that lines up on this side of it, inside this breaker. But you know, the OTE level, the discount level would actually be down closer towards in here. So if you're wanting the dollar to continue to be bullish, you would want to see a price respect bullish order flow. And we'll just have to wait and see what price gives us. There's obviously draws on liquidity inside these fair value gaps. It's going to want to rebalance. So I would anticipate this morning a slight retracement on the dollar into at least these areas and potentially some areas down here. I still think that as June opens, these relative equal lows could get tapped early in the month. If indeed the dollar does close up here today, June will start tomorrow. And to get an open high low close on any candle, you're going to have an open, and you're going to have a low. And then if the dollar's going to continue to be bullish in June, it would be up here. So if you want to think about the monthly time frame real quick on the dollar, where might we continue to go? Well, we're still not at the top of that OTE range, so that's still a valid play. You have this bullish order block that we still have not violated, so price could come up all the way into here. If it wants to roll over, my guess is you've got this big volume imbalance up here it may want to be reaching for, and then you've got these relative equal highs up here around the 106 level, with a volume imbalance back over here that has been traded into, but no candle bodies have been traded through on that. And there's only been one. This little volume imbalance here is if the dollar is going to be bullish through June, or at least the first part of June, that could be a price target for the dollar to continue to be bullish. And you can see we're just respecting bullish order flow in this entire run up. Fair value gaps, it's respecting down closed candles, it's respecting fair value gaps and down closed candles. We're not getting closures below down closed candles. So we're still in an uptrend. The reason I went to a neutral bias, and I said this yesterday, is because my initial objectives for the dollar to reach have been achieved, which was the middle area of this OTE from this leg down. And now that it's hit that volume imbalance in this inside of the middle of the OTE, I will, if it wants to remain bullish, I'm happy to remain bullish, but I wanted to see evidence of that before I continue to have a strong dollar bullish bias. And so, so far, even with the close of May coming in today, it has remained very bullish. And so I'll probably be looking for more opportunities for the dollar to stay that way. But we're just going to have to wait and see. I'm still not as like the dollar's bullet like I was the 2 weeks prior to this. I don't feel that same way. Now, again, that's just my emotional state and how I'm looking at the charts and what I see based on the move up that we've had with absolutely zero healthy retracement on any of the dollar pairs. So, but we'll wait and see. I'll probably remain. This is going to sound weird, but I'm probably going to be more slightly bullish dollar now than I was yesterday. I was more slightly bearish dollar. Today I'm based on what has happened in the last 24 hours, and this is what happens inside of traders that are trading. This is what happens is you have to react to what price is doing. And if you don't have a strong bias, you need to look back and go, well, what did price just show me? I have 24 hours of data now that I didn't have yesterday. Does that change anything? Well, it might. And for me, it moves that needle from slightly bearish dollar to slightly bullish dollar. So I would anticipate the New York session to get some kind of retracement back down into this area, at least into this volume imbalance, and see what happens if in this trading session in the next 3 hours or so, does price react off of this order block, this hourly order block right here, and these fair value gaps. What is that? What happens right here? What happens? And if you look at euro dollar, it's a very similar setup. We've made a new low. What's going to happen around this area? You have some relative equal highs up here. Do any of these fair value gaps turn into inverted fair value gaps? An inverted fair value gap is just a fair value gap that was violated. It did not support price or resist price. But then once it's traded through, when it comes back to it, it now acts as an opposite support or resistance in its original direction. So for instance, this fair value gap that we have outlined right here, it did not hold price. Okay. It got traded through aggressively. We had a candle closure below it, and then it never came back up and retested it. But had price come back up inside of here and retested it and rejected, this fair value gap is now acting instead of anticipating it being a bullish fair value gap, meaning we would want to see price reach into it and then drive up. It traded through it, it violated it, and now it could be inverted, meaning it can now resist price and be a resistor to push price further. So do any of these fair value gaps here and here on the 30-minute time frame, and there's others on the 15-minute time frame, do any of them begin to act as resistance? So I'll be watching that. Again, you can see on the 15-minute time frame here, relative equal highs. So this would be buy side liquidity. And so if it wants to move lower, it's probably going to want to reach for some buy side liquidity. There's really no clean fair value gaps inside this 15-minute run down on the euro dollar. So there's nothing really of interest here. This order block and then these relative equal highs. And then you have big imbalances, several imbalances up here through the Asian session yesterday. Here is your true market open. The midnight open, the New York midnight open is what's considered by many to be the true day open. So you've had an open, a slight move up, and then just pushing down. So if it wants to remain, if we're going to have a slightly bearish bias, we would want to see price reach up into some buy side liquidity areas and then displace below that and then reach for lower prices. So that's kind of what I'll be watching and waiting for here throughout the next couple of hours to see if we get anything. Because we have red folder news, like I said, at 10 o'clock today, price could just meander around, creating and engineering liquidity, and then you get your red folder news at 10 o'clock New York time that then brings in some volatility to the market. So, you know, I don't ever anticipate that a trade's going to set up. I never sit down anymore thinking there's going to be a trade set up today. I more often than not sit down at these charts in these markets and think, yeah, I'm not trading today. That's the bias I sit down at this computer with every single day. Before I open the charts, I sit down and I tell myself, I'm probably not going to trade today. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to watch, but I'm probably not going to trade. Let's jump over to chat. See some people falling in here. When in doubt, stay out. You bet, Michael. Ahmad, good morning. Tilo, hey guys. Do you think the daily volume imbalance could act as support on DXY? I think I just talked about that. This daily volume imbalance. Is this the one you're talking about? Let me look at it. Oh, you mean this one, the small little... Yes, it could. Absolutely. This small little volume imbalance right here definitely could act as support. Let me get in there tight and make sure I'm... That's pretty close. Yeah, that daily volume balance can definitely act as support for sure. It doesn't have to. Anytime you come to a drawn liquidity and it gets traded through, it can invert. And you would anticipate those draws on liquidity to send price away like it did here and then here, traded through and then immediately rejected hard yesterday. And now it's come back up, traded all the way back through again. And so now it may be like there were a lot of orders here. We tapped into them, it sent them away. We tapped into a few more, sent them away. And now we've just driven all the way through it. And is that enough? We haven't had displacement back down below. If we get displacement back down below this hourly order block right here, that would be a beautiful little breaker. If the dollar was going to turn bearish, that would be a beautiful place to find an entry. if it displaced below back there. A run on buy side liquidity and then displacement lower. It doesn't have to. It can remain bullish absolutely all the way through here. But this is my anticipatory area where I would want to see, does the dollar want to stay bullish here? And I would note that on lower time frames on the 15-minute and 5-minute, and see what's happening down there when price reaches down into that area. So euro, that's what we're looking at, is you've got some relative equal highs up here along with a fair value gap, and it's approaching the 50% back into, it's approaching a premium if it reaches back up into here and it lines up with this fair value gap that didn't hold last night. And then you've got a fair value gap here and then a couple up in here. So price could run buy side liquidity, reach back up into this fair value gap, and then use that as the liquidity it needs to roll back over today. And we finish out the month of May closer down to the bottom of the candle. But again, this is just reading the charts, and I'm not trying to find a reason to trade. I'm trying to find out where the market's drawn liquidity is and then respond to that. So that's euro. Pound. Pound still has liquidity to grab down here. So as I look at the pound, I actually probably would be more inclined to be looking to take a sell position here, somewhere inside of here. If it can reach back up into it, this hourly order block here, and you have a fair value gap inside of it, I would be interested to see what's happening here, as price still has some sell side liquidity on the pound dollar versus euro has already run all of its sell side liquidity. So perhaps GBP will be will set up nicely here, but you've got, it's already traded back up into this fair value gap. This one here inside of this order block, I'd be interested to know what happens if price gets up here into the 50% of this wick area here of this order block. Somewhere around there as a pullback. But you've got all of these draws on liquidity here and here and here for pound dollar on the downside. So we'll watch and wait. We'll see what happens on the 15-minute time frame. You can see, what would we see here? Your buy side liquidity. Yeah, this 15-minute order block would be the one I want to see price respect. And they would have to clear out. There's really no swing highs up here. This is the last swing high, and it just grabbed it. So a swing high, this is a swing high. These are not swing highs. They're up close candles, and price will probably struggle a little bit at each up close candle, but they're not swing highs. A swing high would be the candle, this candle and its wick would need to be underneath this candle and its wick, and then this candle would need to be lower. So here you have a lower high, a higher high, and then a lower high. That's a swing right there. Okay. We're potentially creating another swing right here. We have a lower high, a higher high, and if the next hourly candle closes down here, you would create another swing. This is your, after this is your next swing high on the 15-minute. So there's buy side liquidity resting here, and you can see some healthy fair value gaps up here that have yet to be repriced to. Also, I want to draw your attention yesterday. If you'll remember, I pointed this out multiple times yesterday on the euro dollar, and I said no wick candles don't like, the market doesn't like to leave behind no wick candles. And you'll remember I pointed out to this one specifically and this one specifically, and I said, you know, this is why I wouldn't enter straight off of this area in this breaker block because you've got a couple of 15-minute candles with no wicks on them. Price does not like to leave them behind. No wicks left behind. That's kind of how price works. Good morning, Jack. Welcome in. About half the viewers today. Not a surprise. When you don't take trades on live streams, people get bored. And they realize, oh, this guy's not going to help me pass my challenge quick. I'm not going to get funded quick watching this guy. And you are correct. Well, I'm glad you guys aren't bored, but I think at one point yesterday we had like 20 viewers on here, so that's cool. I'm not upset. It doesn't bother me. Like I have nothing against people if they want to pop in and pop out. Cool. I really am here for the people that truly want to grasp and get over the constant failing at this, and take you by the hand and just walk you through the process from beginning to end. So you really get a good grasp and feel of what is required of you to be successful at this. So that's euro pound. Let's go back over to pound. So this is that 1 hour wick right here. This red line is about 50% up inside that wick. It would have to close in this fair value gap all the way. That would correspond with a weaker dollar. Remember, if we're going to want to see the dollar come down into this area and see how price reacts, then we're going to see a retracement on the pound up into this area, and we're going to see a retracement on the euro up into this area. I'd really like to see the euro come up and grab some of this buy-side liquidity and see a displacement away from that if we're going to remain bearish. So far, we've had no displacement back up after making a new low down here. So, typically like yesterday, once you saw price grab this liquidity, that is what displacement looks like. You see this, you don't see that over here. You don't see displacement away, which means this probably wasn't just a stop hunt. This probably wasn't just trying to grab liquidity so that we could run highs up here. This was the stop hunt right here yesterday. Grabbed, and I think someone in the chat actually pointed this out, and that ended up being a great call. But there wouldn't have been a trade in here. We didn't get displacement down. We didn't, you can see that's just chopped all morning. There wasn't even though this ended up being a stop hunt to go shorter to grab more sell side, there wasn't a setup there for us to get into. And that happens. Sometimes price will go and run liquidity and displace back where you anticipate it, but not give you an entry. That deer doesn't walk out into the perfect shooting lane every single day. And sometimes not even once a week. Last week, I'm telling you, man, the guys that were here last week and watched, and we had 5 setups. Every day there was a setup that formed. And now we've had 3 days in a row. This is day 3. And so far, no setup currently. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. Gold actually is shaping up really nicely. I was hoping it would come back down here yesterday and give us a retracement off of grab liquidity down here. And it immediately displaced higher, leaving behind some breaker blocks and fair value gaps and into discount areas. And so this was what we were looking for yesterday. I'm going to take this alert off. I forgot to do that. And we were anticipating it to come down here so that it could run these relative equal highs up here. And it did that. Ended up doing that last night. It just tapped into them and then fell away. So this is if we get some displacement here off of this buy side liquidity, if it wants to reach up a little bit higher here this morning and tap into this fair value gap a little bit more and reach up into this buy side liquidity a little bit more than it already has, and we get some displacement down, then I would look to sell this back down into these imbalances down here, these buy side imbalances. I like sitting here and learning on live charts more than learning from videos of what's already happened. I'm telling you, man, watching hindsight videos, I mean, sure, you can learn. And I've learned a lot from watching hindsight videos as people have played out their trades from the day before and they kind of review trades. You can learn a lot and you can understand, oh, I see that pattern now. But it's easy to see now after everything has formed and the context has already been delivered. But trying to decipher the context in person, that's where the skills are actually developed. That's where you actually build patience. That's where you actually fight boredom. That's where you actually talk it through and tell yourself exactly what you are wanting to see and why. So this is what I'm just watching gold. We've got some sell side liquidity engineered on this short little trend line here, short-term trend line. You still have buy side liquidity up here. Price is kind of squeezing it up towards that buy side liquidity, which is why I would anticipate a run on stops and displacement back through. And then we'll look for if we can find a lower time frame breaker and fair value gap to use to enter there. So gold is looking, it's engineering liquidity, and it could present an opportunity for us today. US 30 still back inside of its overall range here. It did reach up, back up into this 4-hour order block right here. It filled in all of these imbalances. It has fallen away. It closed in the new week opening gap that it had. And if you follow ICT and you've kept up recently with his INWOG, his newest, it's not new, but it's the one a lot of people have been super excited about in the last couple months, the new week opening gap. That could be a draw up, a retest of that before if price wants to continue lower here. And if you're anticipating a bullish dollar, then you would probably be anticipating if they'll actually uncouple. Right now, the dollar and the markets have been moving together, and that doesn't make for easy trading inside of the indices because you want to see them moving in the opposite direction and not moving together. So dollar's making new highs. The indices haven't made new lows. So it's just kind of still messy over here for me. We looked at pound yen yesterday. And I had said I would want to see displacement. Somebody asked me about the pound yen chart yesterday live on the stream, and we just talked through very quickly what I saw. And what I saw was a run on liquidity. And if it was going to be, if we're in a bullish uptrend, and if I wanted to go bearish on the pound, I would want to see displacement below this candle. This down close candle was the last down close candle that we had before price ran buy side liquidity, and I wanted to see displacement below there. We didn't get displacement. It got down to it, and then it just started chopping. Then it broke below, and then it came back up and chop, and now it's broken back down below. So, it's now grabbed all of these relative equal lows that I pointed out, and I had said I would be more interested to see what happens when it grabs this liquidity here. And then does it displace back up and continue the bullish uptrend on pound yen? You can see we're in an uptrend here. It's now grabbed liquidity. It's rebalanced these fair value gaps. So is it going to displace above this hourly candle right here? This hourly candle right here on GBP JPY. This is your last up close candle before you have a run on stops and grabbing sell side liquidity and rebalancing fair value gaps. It has it has come down, grabbed it, and moved right back up. We have not displaced above that hourly candle. I would want to see, I think, yeah, in 30 minutes the same. In 15 minute, it's the same. This is the lowest body that caused that move to grab liquidity. So I would want to see some displacement, some energetic price movement from pound up above that area. And then you might be able to find a buy in line with the bullish trend and capture a 1 to 2 potentially if you get displacement back up above there. Jack, yeah, that was me. Actually ended up taking the trade and it worked out. However, I greatly appreciate your views on it. I learned a lot. Good. Well, I'm glad it worked out for you. It's a valid setup. I'm not saying that this setup wasn't valid because market's rolling over, and if it's going to reach for this sell side liquidity, then this is a good spot. I would probably have used this 5-minute candle if I was going to use a 5-minute breaker. I would have used this one. This is the lowest down close candle in this area before it ran those highs and then displaced below, and then it left behind a fair value gap inside that breaker. And I probably would have targeted 50% of this fair value gap, which is about 50% of that breaker as an entry. Your stop probably above there with a 1 to 2. I wouldn't have taken that, and I explained this yesterday because you're in an uptrend, and I don't take counter trend trades in my system. I want to trade in direction with the overall trend, the higher time frame trends. I want to find, so that's why I would have been more interested in finding sell side liquidity run and then displacement back up to see a trend continue higher. So that's the reason I had said yesterday, I believe, I wouldn't have taken that trade. But man, if it fits your system and you trade counter trend and you trade reversals against the higher time frame bias, if that's what you do and you like that system, it really was this is what a A+ setup looks like as far as how it prints on the charts. Now, again, it did not fit my system. It would be a counter trend trade for me. So I wouldn't have taken it. But it is a beautiful setup. You have a down move, you displace quickly higher to grab liquidity, and then you displace quickly lower, breaking the candle that started that run on liquidity. It leaves a beautiful fair value gap. You have to wait quite a long time. Look, these are all 5-minute candles, right? You have to wait quite a long time, but you would get a beautiful entry about 50% up into that fair value gap and 50% of that breaker. And, if you saw this happening live, as this candle right here printed, I would have set an order right here. And I would have done that, and I would have gotten 1 to 1 point. It's like 1.5. So that was at 7:35 in the morning when I would have identified that, and it would have gotten triggered either here at 9:30 or at 10. And then by 10:20, you've made 4% with very little drawdown. So that is a beautiful printed setup. It just didn't align with what I would have said my bias would have been. So good for you, Jack. I hope that worked out. I hope you got some percentages on your challenges or your funded accounts on that. It's a good trade. I mean, it's a good setup. I don't want to call it a good trade. For me, it wouldn't have been a good trade. But that's an A+ setup like we talked through yesterday. That's what it looks like on the chart. Now, if we were in a downtrend, that would have been a beautiful setup. If we were in a downtrend, I would have taken that trade. Beautiful setup. Move, run liquidity, displace below, fair value gaps, inside of breakers. That's bread and butter. That's your low hanging, easy picking 1 to 2. All right, let's go back and see what's going on with Euro. Euro's climbing. That means dollar is probably pulling back now. As we anticipated a pullback here. It's now inside of that daily volume imbalance. This small little block right here is our daily volume imbalance. We're just going to watch and wait. We're not going to just take an entry right away. We need to see liquidity being grabbed, and we need to see displacement away. So if you're looking at a 5-minute time frame here on the dollar, there is some sell side liquidity here. It's reaching into this fair value gap here. You have some volume imbalances below that it may still want to reach into. And we had that. This is that small little hourly imbalance right here. But it is having a nice little reaction away from the tiny daily volume imbalance that we highlighted here right now. Euro, again, I would want to see euro dollar come up here into this buy side liquidity. But it doesn't have to. It may not want to reach that high right now. We'll just have to wait and see. What's it going to do? There is, on the 5-minute time frame, there's small little liquidity runs here and here inside of this fair value gap. But again, this is where I would probably want to see price get up to and then displace away from here. Pound, reaching back up into this fair value gap. It's holding that fair value gap nicely right here, this fair value gap. I would want to see it get back up closer inside this fair value gap and see what happens here inside or in around that area. If we look on a 15-minute, there's no imbalances here on the way up that it needs to really get back to. This one, you can see it held strongly. There wasn't really an imbalance. It was just a very long wick, but it closed that out. But you can tell price reacted off of this area very strongly right here inside that candle. And on the 5-minute, this is our drawn liquidity here. You've got a swing high here. It's taken out a little bit of liquidity here, but there's still some a little imbalance right here. So I want to see just what does price do up in and around this area? Do we get some displacement away from that area? Pound gold rising again. I would want to see what happens with gold when we get up into this area. Do we get some displacement off of that and then continue down to want to rebalance some of these? I don't need, again, I'm looking for 1 to 2s on lower time frames. So my 1 to 2 might look something like this on a gold trade. Like it may look, that's all I need price to do. I don't need to capture this whole move, but if it gets displacement below, we could get a setup that just lets us run liquidity right here, and that would be fine. But knowing that there's these imbalances down here, it's probably going to want to reach up into, much like it may want to reach up into these imbalances here on this side with buy side liquidity coupled with that. That's why we anticipate that. All right, so I'm just going to go back over here to euro dollar, and we'll just keep it there for a minute. I don't know if you guys have any other pairs that you watch that you want me to look at. I'm happy to do that. Or if you have a question about anything that you've seen or the system or the strategy about how we're going about doing this, let me know in the chat. Y'all are a little bit more quiet in there today than you have been. So either I'm a great teacher or you're falling asleep. Hey, Spider. Sam, we just talked through GJ literally like 5 minutes ago. GJ for me is still in an uptrend until we break below this low. We're consolidating currently. Just like you had this big consolidation here. So we're in an uptrend. Price is moving higher. over time. Okay. So for GJ, I'm still bullish. I would hold a bullish bias for GJ. So I'm only going to be looking for trades that align with my higher time frame bias. So I'm only going to be looking for buys. Price has reached down into this 4-hour order block. It has cleared out sell side liquidity, but we have not had displacement higher off of that run of liquidity. So that's where I would anticipate I would want to see some displacement off of this area right here. I would want to see some big candles print aggressively through this area and leave a fair value gap right in this area that I would then use as a potential entry to target, something like that. So you would want to see, you would want to see some type of candles that, give you closure and fair value gaps above this area, and then you would enter somewhere in here with your stop below the candles that gave you that fair value gap and below the breaker, and you're targeting 2 to 1.5, 1 to 2.1. I can't talk. 1 to 2.15. Again, I do slightly more than 1 to 2s because I want to get a true 1 to 2. I need to recover those commissions and costs of doing business when you enter a trade. So I go just beyond a true 1 to 2 to make sure that happens. So that's what I would want to see from GJ. But currently, you're repricing lower. But again, you have to keep in mind on the higher time frame, this could just be a higher low, because you have a new swing high right here off of this area. So until price closes convincingly below here, I would remain bullish on GJ. If price closes convincingly below here, I would then say this is a break of structure and this was a stop hunt, and these become breaker blocks on the 4-hour time frame if you get a convincing close below this area. So that's my GJ analysis there. All right, I'm going to leave that up there, and we'll see how GJ responds to any of that. UJ, hey Nan, welcome in. We'll look at UJ here in a second. Michael says, I was looking at UJ 1 hour, took liquidity and made displacement higher in the direction of the daily trend. And Spider says, remember the EU play from yesterday after taking the previous day's high? It did drop, but didn't take it though. Yeah, Spider, we talked about that earlier, and I can't remember if that was you or somebody else had said, hey, it took out yesterday's high, should we go lower? And we could. And I had said that actually played out well for whoever said that, but because it was against my initial bias for the day, I wouldn't have taken that trade, and I didn't take that trade. Now, for me, I probably would have wanted to see this 15-minute candle get displaced through. It did. Yeah. I just don't know that I would have. Oh, no, we're over here. Yeah. This just is not a pretty setup for me. It did probably, you might have been able to find a 1 to 2 in there. I don't know, quite honestly. Maybe right in here. But again, I would have had to have held a bearish bias for the day for me to be looking for that and anticipate that. And I probably would have wanted to enter, because there's 2 fair value gaps that were left behind in that breaker, I probably would have wanted to target this, and I would have had, that's a 7 pip stop. I probably would have gone just above that swing high to like an 8 pip stop, like a pip above, targeting 1 to 2.15. So looks like it may have worked out. That would have been gotten in at 10:30 So yeah, that was still within my time window there. Uh, so if I had a bearish bias, I might have taken that trade, but I didn't yesterday, and so it doesn't even concern me. If price does not align with my bias, I don't even consider it valid. So if you took that and it worked out, kudos to you, man. Yep, exactly. You've got to, you can't change. One of the biggest things that I had to learn was you cannot change your bias halfway through the trading session. Because you're going to start questioning yourself. Once you have identified what you want to see and where your bias is for the day, stick with it. And if a trade setup forms within that bias, take it. And if it doesn't, don't take it. Don't try to switch up your bias in the middle of the day just starting out trying to do this. There are guys out there that can change in the moment. I tried that. It doesn't work for me. My trading strategy, 1 to 2, 50% win rate. It's actually better than 50%, but a 50% win rate minimum. And I don't have to worry about anything else. And I'm going to get probably one setup a week guaranteed. And like last week, we had 5 setups. We had one every day. So that's what we do. So today I'm holding a slightly bearish bias. This is when you sit here and go, yesterday, my overall bias was slightly bullish for euro dollar. I said that very clearly. I am slightly bullish. I am anticipating a slight retracement. We're coming into the end of the month. I thought there would be a bigger pullback up into this volume imbalance and these highs up here, over here, and it didn't happen. And so my bias yesterday, it wasn't necessarily wrong because the day ended higher. So technically I was correct, but the long-term bias is still bearish. And that played out last night through the Asian session and London session. So that's why now I'm more slightly bearish for foreigns. So that's what I'm looking for up here right now. I want to see price come up and grab some liquidity here or engineer some liquidity on a 5-minute time frame, run it, and then displace. And it may not happen until the news comes out at 10, which will likely be after we're off the stream here today. We can pull up, I think a couple of guys wanted to look at UJ here. We can pull up, I can't remember the last time I looked at UJ, so you're going to have to, bear with me here. All right, so UJ, here we are on the higher time frame. We'll start off on the weekly just to kind of see what's been happening. You've had this big run down, a downtrend of many weeks and months. You had a pullback, a retrace. You failed to displace lower and make a new low. And now you've had a break of structure here with displacement through that. And so this would be a change of structure and you're bullish. So now we've had 3 weeks straight of bullish price action on UJ, leaving behind, it looks like there might be a tiny volume imbalance in there. I'd have to zoom in to see that more clearly. But yes, it does in fact look like there's a small little volume imbalance here on UJ. This is your next draw on liquidity up here on UJ on the weekly time frame. So this is where I would anticipate price wanting to reach into that level right there, which is inside of this massive sell side imbalance right here. It has currently stalled out inside of this weekly order block, but we have had a break of structure right here off of this swing level. We've broken that liquidity, and we have not displaced back below after grabbing all of that liquidity. So that's a true change of structure here, and in my opinion. And so I would be bullish UJ. If you drop down to the daily time frame, you can see the higher highs and higher lows being respected. You're seeing bullish order flow being respected. So we've not had any kind of healthy pullbacks into any of these imbalances. but it is respecting the down close candles. This down close candle was respected. This down close candle has been respected. So far, you've had this week 3 straight down days. There's no real imbalances here that would make me want to think we're ready to make a new high, but that doesn't mean it can't. Drop down to the 4-hour and we'll see what's going on. 4-hour, we just filled in these imbalances. We've closed below them, and this fair value gap looks like it might be acting like some resistance right now and pushing price a little bit lower on UJ. It did run sell side liquidity here on this last 4-hour candle. Draws on liquidity past this point. Obviously, the swing low that it's forming right now. Then you have some liquidity here, and then you've got all of these relative equal lows down here. We're bullish overall, so I would be looking for buy setups. So I'd be looking for price to run sell side liquidity and displace higher. So on the 1-hour, I think somebody had said on the 1-hour it had grabbed liquidity, and it has. It's grabbed liquidity here on the 1-hour. You had an aggressive move up and an aggressive move back down, and it did close above here, but it hasn't been able to move much higher. Let me see here. What would I say about UJ right now? I would say that you've got some buy side liquidity up here. You've got relative equal highs up here as a draw on buy side liquidity. So all of this up here is draw on liquidity. You've got lows here and here that are sell side liquidity. You've got some imbalances down here that have yet to be filled in. And you've got relative equal lows as sell side liquidity down here. The question is was this a stop hunt that it's going to push price to seek buy side liquidity? Finding a breaker in here where did this move start from? Right up in here. This is the higher closed candle before that. So this could be your breaker. You do have a fair value gap right there that's currently about to close and not respect that fair value gap in the next 3 minutes. Your next fair value gap would be down here below the breaker. And you have a volume imbalance down here. So what would I anticipate? I don't know. I don't have a strong, this does not look like an A+ setup to me just yet. I would have liked to see these candles run higher and really displace back up over here. You got a quick reaction off of it, but you can see when it hit this fair value gap right here, price has been held down. And that is in line with this inverted fair value gap over here. Price didn't respect it here, and it's turned now, and it's holding price down. You did have a run on liquidity, absolutely. And you did have a 3-hour quick displacement above. I would have liked to see, and again, this is my personal opinion, I would have liked to see this candle have closed up a little bit higher and not stalled out. This impulse move just completely failed. Tried to get up again, and it's completely failed. So could price respond to this fair value gap right here off of this breaker? And really maybe these two are your breaker. But it's not super clean for me. That's my opinion. It's not super clean for me. You are in a bullish trend overall on the higher time frames. So I would be looking for buys. On the hourly, this is not the cleanest. Let's drop down to the 30-minute. Do we see anything else? Run of liquidity, displacement higher, breaker. Not really fair value gap there on the 15-minute. This looks more to me like a seek and destroy setup, meaning it wants to grab liquidity on both sides, and it's just going to expand into the news before you get your true direction here. That's just as I quickly look at this chart, and I don't spend any time on UJ, okay? But just reading the chart, it looks like a seek and destroy. It's going to grab sell side, it's going to grab buy side, and it's going to expand until we get to news, and then it's going to go where it wants to go. So it may want to grab more liquidity down here first. So I would be on the sidelines with UJ until something cleaner appeared. My personal opinion. Michael says, I did want to take it off that breaker you identified too, but yeah, this candle's closing strong below the fair value gap, so now I'm unsure too. I would move to the sidelines on UJ. If it were me, I would not be looking to try to enter, knowing that we've got news coming up in a couple hours, red folder news that could really move the markets, whip it around one way and the other. This is not something that I would want to put my capital at risk in the markets. Euro and pound. Pound is setting up some nice liquidity up here. So if we could get some runs on some of this liquidity higher and then get displacement off of there, that could be a nice little setup. Euro again, also setting up some liquidity. I would like it to see it run higher, but it doesn't have to. This is that volume imbalance, and you can see price traded all the way through it. Now we're back at the top of that range, and it's kind of fallen away. Will it act as an inverted resistance area? Sure, guys, man. If there's any other charts, you can obviously put them in there. I really don't look at any other charts on my own. I focus on what you see: euro, pound, in correlation with the dollar, gold, and US 30. Those are the only ones I look at. I try to identify the ones that have the best potential setups, and I focus on those for the day. And if I get them, I get them, and if I don't, I don't. I don't care. I don't care. There's nothing wrong with just sitting here and watching the market's print candles. Learn to love it. Learn to appreciate the way the market delivers price. Learn to talk it out. And learn to be content with sitting and doing nothing. If you do nothing and you don't take a trade, you've won, because you did not lose any money. You did not lose any capital. Not a bit. So if we are slightly bearish, we're just waiting for setups. We're waiting for a run of liquidity and then displacement lower. That's what we're waiting for. And pound has engineered some liquidity here. We're consolidating and accumulating ahead of the news. And so perhaps in a couple hours when the news hits, we get a run with displacement and we get a setup. Dollar is doing as we anticipated as we enter into the 8 o'clock hour here. It's pulling back from its overnight highs. As I said before, I'd be interested to see how the dollar responds when it reaches down into this order block. No one said anything about not having music today, so I guess music isn't that big of a deal and I don't have to worry about it anymore. A breaker indicator? Yeah, no, there's a breaker indicator here. I don't ever use it. It's old. I just have never taken it off. Lux Algo makes all kinds of really nice indicators. I used to use it just to see um, how accurate it was. Really, I don't need an indicator. If that makes sense. Like I don't need an indicator to tell me what a breaker is. But if you're learning what a breaker is, having an indicator might be able to help you more easily identify them until you just see them. You just see them naturally. Uh, you can see this identified as a breaker, and it said you should get back in, and then it was wrong. That's why you don't use indicators. You don't need them. I should just take it. I'll just take it off. It's I even forgot it was up there because it's been off for so long. Till you just said that. Music for when I step away. I have this screen. So I got that. Like if I need to, I could always put that back up, and it's got some music on it. Um, I don't know. I don't like using this whole Streamlabs thing. I'm still trying to figure out the best thing for me to use to do with it. Do I need to make this look fancier? You know, do I need to put like an overlay on here, like like you see on Twitch streamers that are gaming and stuff? They have all kinds of, like, they have the chat on the screen and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I'm not that fancy. I'm more of a utility kind of guy. So what's the utility? What's the reason that I need to use this? And does it help me be a better trader? And does it help these people that are watching become better traders? And if having that stuff up there, maybe I need to learn how to do that. I don't know. Yeah, I took the music background off. I went on to make a new playlist yesterday, and I couldn't really find any good music on YouTube that I really kind of liked to make a new playlist. The playlist I had was kind of rock, um, not so like techie, techno dance track kind of stuff. Um, and I've had it up there for 2.5 weeks. And I had some people comment that it was, I either needed to turn it off or turn it down. I kind of like having the music in the background, but I don't know. The more I thought about it, the more I was like, if I end up ever taking some of these live videos and I want to pull out highlights for actual YouTube clips, like more longer form YouTube, not shorts. Anytime that there's something happening, I'll probably make a short today just to catch people up on where we're at after day 3. I'll probably try to put a short out this afternoon on YouTube. But if I ever wanted to do like a longer form video where I explained a trade setup or I pulled out a highlight from the live stream, having a music bed on there would not allow me to put a new music bed on the shorter clip, if that makes sense. Like if you go in and you clip out music bed off of that, uh, you find a clip, there's music playing. And so you would have to like use that. I wouldn't be able to put a different music bed on there if I wanted to. So not having a music bed on here will help me in the future if I decide I want to start editing some of this stuff down into shorter playlists. Like when I talk about what an A plus setup is, and I spend 6 or 7 minutes going through an A plus setup. That could be a great little clip I could pull out and throw up on my channel, so people don't have to watch a 2.5 hour live stream to find it. They would learn more if they watched the 2.5 hour live stream, but most people don't want to consume content like that. So anyway, that's kind of my thought process for the music. My opinion, you don't need to change anything. Twitch overlays are probably for dopamine hits to keep people come back. Yeah, I mean, they're flashy and they look, like you have a high production value to your stream. Like they look super professional, I guess. Um, What people don't know is, I mean, they cost like $30 and anybody can throw them up and look professional, but that doesn't mean that's a good stream. Versus not using them, you could find great streamers and pros that don't use any of that crap. Like this looks, when I look at my stream right now and I've got this yellow banner at the top, like this gold banner, and then I've got this, I mean, it does not look great. I mean, let's be honest. It looks kind of, it looks a little cheesy, but I don't know a better way to make that, to put that information up there and not make it look cheesy, I guess. So I don't know. There's probably a better way to do that. And maybe there's a simple overlay I could use that could clean it up and just not make me look like a junior high, uh, a junior high school internet project for your IT class. Because that's what it looks like right now. Let's be honest. That does not look good. I don't know what else to do with it though. I want people when they see it, I want people to come on. My intention was when they open the stream to be able to quickly identify, oh, I'm at the right place. I'm at this 10K to 2 million funding challenge. Oh, I know where he's at right now. I know where he's at in his goal to get to 2 million funding. And then down here, these are just the stats of whatever phase I'm on, how many days we've been in the current phase we're in, you know, our win losses and break evens for that phase, etc. But I don't really know. I don't know how to clean that up any better and make it look cooler for the kids. Speaking of kids, what are y'all's ages out here? What do you guys that are watching this? What's the age difference here? The first couple guys that came in, Muhammad and Corey, which I haven't seen Corey in here today. Muhammad and Corey, they were like 18 and 20, very young. Jack's 22. What's the rest of you? Are y'all in? Is everyone here in their 20s? 24. Hey, 45. Smitty. You're almost as old as I am. God, I so wish I would have learned how to do this when I was in my 20s. I so wish. 37. Non, I am most elder. Well, until you put your age in here, we don't know. Beeswax 40 plus. Nah, it's 50. Man, I think you are. You might be the elder. You have me. I just turned 48 on May 13th. So a couple weeks ago, I crossed 48. Didn't have the resources. Yeah, I mean, I don't. 20 years ago, what was I doing? I was having babies and trying to figure out how to be a dad and a husband. When I was in my early 20s, I did not have the capacity, energy, or resources to think about Forex. 46. You look like you're 30, mate, not 48. I appreciate that, Steven. Just good genes, man. I feel fortunate. You should see my wife. Most people think she's like 28. She just turned 47. Been married 27 years, man. 27 years. 4 kiddos. They're all out of the house now. We started young. I was 21. She was 20 when we got married. And we knew we wanted to have our kids. We wanted to have at least 3, maybe 4. We didn't know the exact number. And we knew we wanted them to be close together, like a year and a half apart. We wanted to be tight, like all of our kids. So when we got married, 10 months after we said I do, she got pregnant. And that was not our plan, but it happened. She got pregnant. And so we were like, well, I guess here we go. And so she was pregnant most of her 20s with our 4 kids. And it was fun. I think you should get married young, and I think you should start a family young. You have the energy for it. And now they're all grown. My 2 oldest got married last year, and my two youngest are living on their own. They got their own apartments, they got their own jobs. We're empty nesters, and it's wonderful. I'm not even 50, and we've raised our family. Now I'm looking forward to grandkids, man. I've got two kids that are married. I'm like, give me grandbabies. I want a grandbaby. That's cool, man. There's not as many 20-year-olds in here. I think the older crowd has the younger crowd beat, so that makes me feel better. The Gen Xers, man, we're holding it down. Gen X, it's the greatest generation. It's the forgotten generation. Nobody gives a crap about Gen X. Born in 75. Let's go, bicentennial. Uh, I started trading about 4.5 years ago, Jack. So whatever that was, mid 40s is when I really got into this. I had been introduced to it earlier on, back in my 30s, but I just never really gave it any time or really even seriously considered it. But I did start seriously considering it back before the pandemic. I got into it, and then obviously all the way through the pandemic is when I really put a lot of time and energy and effort into it. And it's not only been in the last year that I have become profitable with trading. So it's been a 4.5 year process, and it's only in the last 12 months or so that things have changed and clicked. So I failed over 30 challenges in the last 4.5 years. Too many, quite honestly. Uh, my kids are not trading yet. My daughter is a counselor. She just graduated with her master's degree in counseling, and so she's a therapist. She's already working with a firm, and she loves what she does, but she has no interest at all in trading. She's super happy that I'm doing well. That's her. My oldest son, number two kid, um, software engineer, and has a mild interest in trading. In fact, he I know he watches the stream. I don't even know if he's in here today. He may be in here. He may not be, but uh, he keeps up with it and asks me about it all the time. I try to talk him into trading. I'm trying to talk him into doing a whole series at some point during this 10K to $2 million challenge where I teach him how to trade from scratch live, like pull him in here on the stream with me, and actually show a newbie how to do this and see if he can do it along with me. So uh, we'll see. He's talked about it maybe. He's the only one that really has any interest in this. My other son is early 20s and just have trying to figure out who he wants to be and what he wants to do with his life. He's just fine kind of getting by right now, doing life on his own terms. And then my youngest daughter is in college, and also has no interest currently in trying to learn how to do this. So one out of the four have a vague interest in learning. They all know that I do what I do. And I think, quite honestly, until I have longer, consistent success, they're not going to be super interested because they've seen the last 4.5 years and how much I've lost and how much frustration I've gone through and how difficult the process it was for me to become profitable. And so they're like, that looks miserable. Why in the hell would I want to put myself through what dad just went through? So yeah, there's nothing happening there currently on the kid front, and I'm okay with that. If they want to learn, I'm happy to sit down and teach them, but I'm not gonna shove it down their throats. And hopefully they don't have to. Hopefully I do so well at this that they don't need to worry about trading. That dad can do more than enough for all of us and their families and my grandkids. So that's the why. That's why every one of us are probably on here doing this. Streams with my son would be great. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. You never know. My first, the first real test for this whole challenge is what we're in right now, the funding stage, is getting to payouts. Nothing can happen with this $10K to $2 million funding challenge if I don't get a payout. I can't buy another challenge unless I get a payout. I mean, the reality is I can buy more challenges right now. I'm not going to. I want to do this from scratch and put it all here on YouTube. That's why we're doing this. So this specific YouTube channel cannot move forward unless I get a payout and I can buy another challenge. So June 11th, we're about 12 days away, 10 days away, something like that. That's my first payout. Sunday, June 11th is when my first payout could happen. So that's where we're looking. I'm just going to be patient and wait. And if I get one setup, between now and June 11th, and I take it and I win 1-2, I will be up 4%. That's $400 plus the refund. I get 85% profit split, so that would be about $325 or something, plus my refund of $100. It'd be $425. I need to go look and see what a 4%. What's Bespoke? Let me pull this up. So their classic challenge, a 50K is $330. A 100K is $530. And if they run a discount when I'm ready to buy a challenge, it could be a little bit cheaper. So if all I get is 4% plus my refund, I could probably buy a 50K. So one winning trade would give me 4%. I'm not, and now hear me on this. I am not looking to only take one trade. The reality is I'm not looking to take any trades. I am perfectly content sitting here until my payout comes on June 11th and not have taken one trade. Perfectly content to do that. This funded account isn't going anywhere. And if I don't get my A+ set up, I'm not going to take it. But I'm also going to take every A+ setup that comes between now and my payout. If I got a setup today, I'm going to take it. If I get a setup and I win it and I'm up 4%, let's say we get a perfect setup today and I take it and I win and I'm up 4%, I am not shutting this down. I am going to come back tomorrow, and if I find an A+ setup, I'm going to take it. That's how you win. You have to take every A+ setup that comes and fits your criteria. That's how your edge plays out over time. So if we get 3 winners between now and June 11th, I would be up 12%. And I don't take a loss. I'd be up 12%. I don't stop trading and just wait for payouts. I'm going to only take an A+ setup, and I'm going to trade those A+ setups. You can see, guys, this is just the market is just moving around in malaise here as we have that red folder news coming up over here at 10 o'clock. I'm probably going to stay on only till about, I'll probably stay on for another 30 minutes. I'll stay on until about the start of the 9 o'clock hour. And I'm definitely not staying on 3 hours today until that news hits. I have real life things that I need to go take care of and look to do. So I'll stay on until then, though. If in the next 30 minutes suddenly we get a big push up, I don't anticipate that, and we get some displacement down, then maybe we'll get it set up. But what's gold doing? Gold's trying to reach up a little bit higher. It really does want to get up into here and grab some more of that liquidity. US 30, the markets are about to open here in about 5 minutes for the indices. So we could see some kind of movement on US 30. We haven't read any headlines today. That's always fun. What shall we do? Pound? Let's read some pound dollar headlines. 38 minutes ago on MT Newswires. I don't know what MT is, but U.S. dollar rises early Wednesday ahead of Chicago PMI, jolts beige book and Fed speakers. Reuters, dollar hits highest high since mid-March as European inflation cools. Reuters an hour ago, sterling firmest versus euro since December on signs European inflation cooling. So as if European inflation is coming down, it's weakness. It means weakness for the euro. I guess that's what the news headlines mean. I don't really give a crap. I just want to trade my setups, and I want to wait on my setups to form. And if you came to the market today and you were just trying to find some way to get involved, and you came in and you're like, oh, price just grabbed this liquidity, it's trading off that, let's go short off of this. Look at this crap. Like, there's no setup here, y'all. There's nothing happening anywhere. GJ, yeah, see, we didn't get displacement up above here. We might still get displacement up. It may want to grab these equal lows, though, before it does that. Who knows? UJ, what's UJ doing? Just kind of coming back up into this consolidations. It's grabbed some sell side. It's grabbed a little buy side. Seek and destroy. It's a seek and destroy template. The market is just looking, it's just going to range and accumulate positions until it creates some volatility. And maybe it uses the news events to do that. Man, family is the reason. If you don't have a big enough why, I tweeted this earlier this morning. If you don't have a big enough why, or maybe I haven't yet, I schedule out my tweets. I have a software, so I don't have to sit here and every hour put out a tweet. Like I'll write out my tweets and schedule them for the day, and so they just kind of come out all day long. I can't remember if this was in response to something or if this is a tweet that's coming out later today. But basically, it's if you don't have a strong enough why. If you don't have a deep, abiding motivation of a why you're doing this, the market is going to chew you up and spit you out. Your why has got to be so clear and so strong inside of you to make it in this business. And for me, it's my family. It's having the time freedom that I want. It's having the financial freedom that I want, the independence, and being able to protect and to provide the way I think a husband and father should, and leave the legacy behind for them that I know they're going to be taken care of. That's the why. And when you start getting beat up and you hit a losing streak, or you want to draw down, or you blow an account, you always have to come back to, why am I doing this? Oh yeah, it's because of that. This matters. It's important. Figure it out. I place my trades live, Steven. Absolutely, I do. And if a setup plays out here on the live stream, you'll see exactly where I'm getting in and where I'm putting my stop and where I'm putting my take profit. If it's not on the live stream, I will post all of that information on Twitter. I'll put my pair. I'll put what pair I'm trading. I'll put my entry, stop loss, take profit, risk, all of that. I post it all on Twitter. So follow me on Twitter at Venator Trading. And you can keep up with any trades that happen that aren't on the live stream as well. And man, buy a 10K account, place all of my trades. You can do that. I'm not advising you to do that. I'm not suggesting that you do that. It is a free country, a free world, mostly. And you can do whatever you want. And you're more than welcome to, but you also understand by doing that, you still need to take responsibility for that challenge. Like, win or lose, that's your challenge, not mine. So just understand that anybody that's on this stream thinking I'm only going to take trades that this guy puts up, uh, you can do that. But there's no guarantee for success. There's no guarantee that this is going to work. There's no guarantee that I'm going to take this from 10K to 2 million. And you guys need to be okay with that and understand that going into it. My whole point of doing this channel is not to spoon feed people entries and exits. My whole point of doing this channel is to teach you how to maximize and leverage prop firms to reach your goals, and how to teach you how to pass challenges. Not necessarily teach you what my setup is. You're going to learn my setup if you watch this stream, but that doesn't mean you have to use it. It's really more about patience and waiting and psychology and emotion, trade management, risk management, all those things. That's really what this channel is all about, not to teach you a strategy. I'm not here to try to convince you that my setup is the best setup to use. I'm not here to convince you that ICT and smart money concepts are the only way you can do this. I'm not here to teach you any of that. I'm here to try to give what I wish I would have had 4.5 years ago when I started this and didn't have to lose 30 challenges. I wish I would have had somebody that would sit on the charts every single day and help talk me through what's happening and the mental side of how to go about doing this as a business. I didn't have that. And no one in mentorships is offering that. They might have a booklet or a video on psychology, but they don't sit with you every single day on the charts, live, talking to you. They might do it a day a week or 2 days a week, or they might do it once a month. But number one, you got to pay for it. And number two, they're not doing what I'm doing. I hear my doggies coming downstairs. It's time for their morning nature call. So I'm going to get off the camera here and the mic real quick just for a minute, let them out, let them do their business, and I'll be right back. All right, we're back. Uh, that's the name. I'm trying to catch up on chat here. Family for me as well. Family's a strong reason, man. There's not much better one out there. Pretty much everything we do should be for our families. Does the name Venator have a story? Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not a long story. It's just I was thinking about what I wanted to call all of this stuff, this brand of trading. Like, nobody wants to put their just full name out there, and I don't really have any interest in doing that either. But when I think about the way that I trade, I the way that I trade, I often talk about, and if you go back and watch phase one and phase two, I talked about this a lot, but we're hunters. Venator is Latin for hunting or hunter, the hunter. And that's how I trade, man. I want to be a hunter. I am looking to take down the trophy bucks. I want to walk into the woods and I want to stalk and I want to be quiet and I want to be patient and I want to wait for that trophy buck to come out exactly where I need him to be so that I can take him down and put another rack up on my wall. So Venator is Latin for hunter, and that's where it comes from. So that's kind of how I think about trading, is that I'm a hunter. And if there's one thing I could impart to all of you, that would be it. You should be hunters. That's what good professional traders are. They stalk price and they stalk their perfect setups, and they don't do anything until they see their perfect setup. I don't want to, I said this the other day, I don't want to come into the markets and be the kind of hunter that's got a shotgun and just every time a twig snaps, I'm pulling the trigger, or every time I hear a rustle of the leaves over here, I'm pulling the trigger. I'm not out here trying to just blow up the woods. I'm not trying to come out here and hunt squirrels or raccoons. Those are going to feed my family for one meal. If I can take down a trophy buck, that's going to feed my family's going to feast, and they're going to be fed well for a while off of the trophy buck. So that's what I want to do, and that's kind of that's why I call it Venator. Steve says I already have one 10K account down 2%. But I want to use one only with you. There's no guarantee in trading. There is no guarantee in trading ever. There's no guarantee with this channel. There's no guarantee that I'm going to get you over the finish line. But every one of us has a journey in trading, and every one of us has struggles that we need to get over. And mostly it focuses around not being able to consistently execute a trading plan that has a high probability setup clearly defined. Being impatient and getting bored and wanting to shortcut the process, basically. Lots of liquidity being engineered, misspoke. Lots of liquidity being engineered here on Euro and on Pound, getting a lot of relative equal highs. We'll set up a nice play to be able to run stops, potentially reach up into here before it rolls over. And for the Pound, same thing, being able to reach up potentially into this hourly order block over here. Gold, also same setup. We're just waiting. This is all waiting, and I don't think we're going to get anything in the next 20 minutes. The markets are very quiet. They know that there's some red folder news coming, and so it's just meandering around, creating levels, clean levels that it can run later to move in the direction it wants to go. On the 5-minute here on the Euro, you've got some no wick candles here and here and here and here. And we know no wick candles don't like to leave no wicks behind. No wicks left behind. I should trademark that if ICT hasn't already. Maybe that's my first original concept. No wicks left behind. Uh, so we'll see how that all plays out. ICT is the only way. ICT is a way. I trade ICT methods, but it is not the only way. I've said this before. Um, the highest payouts on prop firms currently, from FTMO, from across the board, from all the prop firms, are guys that trade moving averages. High six-figure payouts, $250,000, $500,000. All those payouts are from guys that trade moving averages. So I love ICT Steven. I think he's the GOAT. His methods are make the most sense to me. They finally gave me a logical framework with which to view how price moves, and I think about, oh, the joys of live streaming with two large golden doodles in your house that think everything that passes by the window is trying to get into our house and murder us. Sorry about that. I lost my train of thought. I don't remember what I was saying. Anyway, I think ICT has that too. I know Jade Cap used the no wick theory as well, at least if you know him. Yeah, I am familiar with Jade Cap. Um, Great trader and has had huge success with ICT concepts. So yeah, I'm sure it's not original. I don't think there's anything original left in the markets for someone to come in and go like, I have this new way to trade. No one's ever done this before. This is my original thought. Like, there's nothing new under the sun. Um, there's no reason to try to be an inventor of something. Just take what already exists. It works. It works. Use it. Get good at executing that. At the beginning of my journey, I started with moving averages, but didn't know why price is moving. Yeah, that's the problem with indicators. Is they're lagging. They tell you what's already happened. They don't tell you what's about to happen. And there's mechanical systems that people have used and can make a lot. They make a lot of money with them, but overall, you need to have an understanding of why price is doing what it's doing, at least in my opinion. Understanding why it's moving sideways, understanding why it just sharply jumped up and then sharply moved away. Why did it do that? And the smart money concepts that ICT teaches are, to me, the most clear and logical way to understand what's happening with price. And then once you have that understanding, you can develop a very clear system and setup that will give you a high probability of achieving profits for you with that framework. Dude, I love my dogs, but sometimes they're a pain in the butt, Michael. Like they're toddlers. They're just little kids. And my big, I have two golden doodles. Absolutely love them. We had golden retriever before we got them, but we ended up we had to put her down. her hips end up giving out as she aged in life, and she couldn't hardly stand and walk around anymore. And I loved her, but the hair from the golden retriever is unbelievable. The amount of sweeping and vacuuming that you have to do to keep up with the hair that golden retrievers drop is it's pretty amazing. So we went with the golden doodles. Absolutely love them. Highly recommend. You get the best of both breeds. So a golden doodle, if you don't know, is a mix between a golden retriever and a standard poodle. So standard poodles don't shed at all. You have to get them groomed to keep their hair short. And so when you mix a golden retriever, which is probably the most compliant, man's best friend, iconic dog, super friendly, super submissive, super obedient. They just live to want to make you happy. And so you take that personality and that temperament and you breed it with the poodle that doesn't shed, and you get the doodle. So a golden retriever, a golden doodle, is the designer, so to speak, the designer breed from those two pairs. And they don't shed. Well, I take that back. Every dog is going to shed just a little bit. I shed, you shed. If you have hair, you're shedding, and the older you get, the more you shed. So they all shed a little bit, but the doodles really don't shed at all, hardly at all. We have to get them groomed, but their personalities are just fantastic. But our big one, Maggie, she's the oldest. She's 7 years old. She weighs about 100 pounds. Most doodles do not weigh 100 pounds. I don't know why she got so big, but she's huge. She literally thinks death is just around the corner everywhere in life. That's the way she approaches life, is something is about to kill me or kill the people I love. And so she's always like, any little noise sound, she's like ready to go ballistic. She would never hurt a fly. She's the biggest chicken in the world. She'll bark, and she's so big, her bark and her growl sounds terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. But she's literally the biggest baby in the world, and all she wants to do is play fetch nonstop. Just play fetch with me nonstop. And then Remy is our other golden doodle, and Maggie's white, Remy's brown. He's only about 70 pounds, 65, 70 pounds, which is more typical for the golden doodle breed. And he is everybody's best friend. There's nobody that he doesn't love. He doesn't want to bark at anybody. He wants to lick everyone. So they're just like kids, man. They're like toddlers. The way that they live life. Oh, to be a dog sometimes, man. Yeah, you got to deal with the fleas, and you have this fascination with sniffing other people's butts. But besides that, life's pretty good. Have you applied ICT macro time? I'm not. I'm familiar with the terminology macro time, but I don't know exactly. If you're talking about kill zones, then yes. I only take trades during kill zones. So for me, the New York kill zone, I don't trade the London session. There was a time when I would be like, oh, if you're going to be a Forex trader, you got to trade the London session. And God, you want to talk about being miserable, trying to go to bed and then wake up in the middle of the freaking night here in the States so you could get up and trade the London session where the actual movement happens. God, that sucked. But there's, your London kill zone, you have your New York kill zone. And for Forex pairs, that's 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. New York Standard Time. I will take trades a little bit after that. Lunch hour New York time is really my cutoff for getting into a trade, because typically after lunch hour, the euro dollar and pound dollar are just they stagnate pretty hard unless there's some like FOMC news or something coming out in the afternoon. After lunch, after London closes and we reach into the New York lunch hour, the forex markets just don't move very much. So I'm only trading during those times, if that's what you mean by macro time. If by macro time you mean seasonality, I'm aware of the seasonality, the ICT concepts of, hey, as typically you're bullish during this season overall, your sentiment, and as you move into summer months, maybe you're bearish for the summer months. But I'm not exactly sure if that's what you mean by macro time. If you're talking about kill zones or if you're talking about seasonality. What about Silver Bullet? Quite honestly, I have not watched ICT videos in the last 3 months. It's just going to confuse you. It's just too much. And he doesn't really focus. He's only focused on ES right now, really, and NAS. And I don't really, besides using them for the 2022 mentorship and understanding the concept behind it, I don't watch every ICT video that he puts out. I don't listen to every. I like listening to his spaces. I think they're freaking hilarious. That dude can become so unhinged so quickly. And he gets so passionate in defense of himself and just the rants that he goes on. They're entertaining. But I don't, the Silver Bullet, I don't even know what that means right now. And every week he has, every week or every month, he has a new thing that he is redefining and giving you new language and terminology for. And I'm telling you, it's like drinking from a fire hose. You have to stop. If the Silver Bullet is the model and system that you want to use, then just use that. If you want to use the new week opening gap, then use that. If you want to use optimal trade entry, then use that. If you want to use the market maker buy model or market maker sell model, then use that. If you want to use consequent encroachment, then use that. If you want to use just a fair value gap, then use that. If you just want to use order blocks or breaker blocks, and use that. There are so many. He has so much. The man is brilliant, no doubt, but you cannot use all of that. And thinking that you can just keep taking all of ICT's concepts and everything that he keeps talking about and putting out, and everybody keeps making videos about the latest thing and how they're using it, it's just going to slow you down. It's not going to be helpful for you. I've done it. You can't keep up. You can't. And there's too many setups for you to try to juggle in your head right now to keep up with ICT's latest concepts and juggling. So I don't want to get into that. Like this is how I have become profitable, is I have found one setup and I mastered it. One setup took me from failing over 30 challenges to becoming a six-figure funded trader and being profitable. Okay, one setup. That's all you need. And if you listen to his 2022 mentorship, YouTube mentorship, that's all he says. Just find one setup. And then he keeps putting out content and content and content and ideas and ideas and ideas and showing you how smart he is. And he is absolutely freaking brilliant. And he can read the charts like no one else. Like I'm here to give ICT all of his props, but I'm telling you, you're not going to be able to be consistent if you try to use every one of his teachings. You're not going to be able to do it. You're going to screw yourself up. Oh, I see a silver bullet here in this macro time, and it's right in line with the consequent encroachment of the NWAG, and there's an OTE here. You're going to constantly be trying, your brain is going to tell you things that aren't there. Don't do it. That's my advice. Find one thing. find one thing and master it. Become a professional at that setup. And just use it, because you don't have to participate in every single setup that the market moves, and you can still be profitable. Guys, if we took 2 or 3 trades every day, and by the payout I was 4% in profit, but I had to live and go through the emotional baggage that comes with winning 1, losing 2, winning 1, losing 2, losing 3, winning 1, all for the next 2 weeks, and at the end of the day I'm at 4% in profit. Cool. Or I could just wait for my 1 or 2 A+ setups to come and not have to deal with all that baggage. That's why I do what I do. And that's what most consistently profitable traders do as well. They wait and they take as few trades as they need to. They take the highest probability setups they can. They are not just jumping in and out of the market on mediocre setups. They might end up with the same amount of profitability, but they had 5 times the stress to get there. Oh, the macro times. The macro times. Yes. Okay. Yes, I am familiar with the macro times. The 950 to 1010, 1050, 1110, 1150, 1210. Yes. But, dude, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the times are. Ultimately, it does not matter. Price is going to reach for liquidity, and then it's going to displace. And I'm not going to sit around and figure out in what 10 or 15 minute window it's most likely to happen. We know it's going to happen around red folder news a lot. But besides that, I don't need to be concerned about it. I know I'm going to sit here for a couple hours every day, and I'm going to watch and wait and see if my setup forms. And if it does, I'm going to be ready. And if it doesn't, I'm going to wait until the next day, and I'm going to do it all again. And some weeks I'm going to get 5 trades in a row on 5 days in a row. And some weeks I might not take a trade. So the macros. Silver bullet is a time window inside of a kill zone. So yeah. He's gotten into DXY and EU more the last week or so with the reviews. I'm surprised he hasn't come back to Forex. The way that Forex has been moving for the last month, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And indices are the ones that have been absolute trash in the way that they've moved consistently, trending. They haven't been. The foreigns, Forex has been trending wonderfully, absolutely wonderfully. So I'm surprised that he hasn't come back over to Forex. For years and years, he was only Forex. He didn't touch indices, or at least he didn't teach indices heavily. It was all only Forex. So I did notice that he had tweeted out recently about some EU stuff. Yep, you just need to master it yourself. You just need to find out what is best for you and what works best for you. And you need to master that setup. Just focus on mastering that setup. I'm not sure what you're referring to, Steven. Just watch this, please. Maybe it clicks you in a way. Are you talking about the macro and the silver bullet stuff? Is that what you want me to watch? You're encouraging me to watch there? I'm a little confused. Or are you about to type something else? I have watched the silver bullet. Yeah, okay. I might go check it out. Everything he puts out is interesting, and everything he puts out works. But again, as a new trader, you cannot take all that ICT teaches and connect every dot of how they all work together. You can't. It's too much. It's absolutely too much. And if you're just looking to find a reason to trade, then you're going to find a reason to trade if you try to use all of ICT's information. You're going to find some way to define what's happening right now. Oh, it's just outside of a macro. Oh, it just hit the OTE and it hit the NWOG and it's at the 50% encroachment of that fair value gap, which is also rejecting off of an inverted fair value gap and a volume imbalance from a month ago. Like, you're always going to be able to find something and some reason that will line up with one of ICT's concepts. And none of us are good enough to put that all together. None of us are good enough to put that all together. So I stick with peanut butter and jelly. I'm not trying to be a 3-star Michelin chef. I want to be the best peanut butter and jelly bread sandwich maker that I can be. That's all I need. I will live forever on peanut butter and jelly. Give me a run on liquidity, displacement away, give me a fair value gap, and then let me go about the rest of my day. Yeah, me too, man. I failed over 30. Some of those, many of those were with ICT's concepts, trying to understand exactly what he was teaching. Finding one or two of his concepts and just honing in and mastering that concept and that technique. That's all you have to do. The hardest part about trading ICT, the hardest part about trading support and resistance, the hardest part about trading moving averages, the hardest part about trading Bollinger Bands or whatever, it's patience. Boredom is what kills the majority of traders. They cannot fathom and comprehend why you're not trading when you're at the charts. All right, so we're into the 9 o'clock hour now. We got news coming out in an hour. I'm not going to stay on. I'll stay on for just maybe a little bit longer. But if there's any other final questions that you guys have or want me to cover right now, cool. If not, I'm probably going to close it down for the day, and I'll watch as news hits in about an hour. And if we get it set up, I'll put it out on Twitter, and with screenshots and everything that I'm doing. I will be completely transparent from beginning to end with every position I take on this. So I will be live tomorrow. Yep, I'll be live every day this week. I'll be back Thursday and Friday this week. I'll be live every day next week. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at. Take one last look here. See how the dollar reacted right off of that order block right there. I had said I wanted to kind of see what was the dollar going to do when it got down into this fair value gap with this order block right here. It wicked down just into the wick of that order block and has rejected back up. That doesn't mean it won't come back down again, make a deeper dive when the news hits. If it wants to go bullish, it could just take off from here too. So that's that. Pound is just consolidating its engineered liquidity. I would like to see the pound come back up into this level here somewhere, and then displace lower. So we'll be watching for that later today, this morning, in the next for the next 2.5 hours. I'm not going to do anything until I see price come back up higher and grab liquidity on pound dollar here, on gold up in here, and euro up in here. If we get some liquidity grabs up in here and then we get displacement, then I'll be calling out some trades on Twitter. But I will be back tomorrow live every day this week. Follow me if you don't. Also, guys, if you haven't left, if you could hit that like button on this video, that's really the only thing I'm asking you guys to do. The more people that engage with the like and the subscribe or leaving comments on the video itself, it does help push it out to other people. And, my goal is not to have 10,000 people on the stream, but I know that there's other traders out there that could probably benefit from what's going on here. And so the more the merrier as always. So if you could hit the like button, I would appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you follow me on Twitter, turn on your notifications. Otherwise, you're not going to see when I tweet out positions. So make sure you have notifications on Twitter, or else you'll miss anything that doesn't happen here on the live stream. So, all right. I think I'm going to go ahead and call it right there. And you guys enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, the last day of May. We'll see what happens. And we'll be back again tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. New York time. So until then, you guys take care, be safe, and we'll see you tomorrow.